Hey everyone, welcome back to Deadscape Diaries. First, I owe y'all an apology. It's been about a month since my last upload and I didn't just disappear on you. Just so you guys know, I'm military and I had to head out for some training that kept me away from home and away from making stories. I didn't want to rush something out just for the sake of it, so thank you for being patient with me. And just to clear the air, I've had a few people ask if my voice is AI. It's not. This is my real voice. I just edit it and clean it up a bit to give it that darker, smoother tone that fits these stories. Now that I'm back, it's time to dig into something new. Tonight's story is called The Bone Orchard. It's about a patch of cursed land out by Ashford Crossing where the dead don't stay buried and the living don't come back the same. So settle in, turn the lights down, and let's begin. They said the ground out by Ashford Crossing wasn't meant for the living. The land dipped into a low, sunken patch of earth where cypress roots knuckled through the soil like swollen fingers, and the fog never seemed to lift. Even on the hottest summer days, folks called it the Bone Orchard, though it was a little more than a family cemetery, fenced in by rusted iron and shadowed by trees older than the parish itself. The land belonged to the Delacroix family once, a line that had withered down to nothing but names carved in stone. The last of their blood was put in the dirt nearly a century ago, yet no one dared disturb their resting place. Hunters, trappers, even children chasing fireflies stayed clear of the bend in that swamp. It wasn't just the graves, it was the whispers. At night, when the crickets went silent and the water stilled, you could hear them, soft voices curling through the trees, calling out in the tones of mothers, fathers, lovers long dead. They always knew your name. The logging company didn't care much for ghost stories. Out-of-towners from Baton Rouge, men who looked at the swamp and saw nothing but profit. They came with chainsaws and trucks, cutting deeper into the woods than anyone ever dared. The locals warned them not to touch the orchard. You disturb that ground, it'll disturb you back. But money talks louder than superstition, and before long, the first cypress was felled. That's when the voices grew louder. It started with Daniel Thorne, a foreman who laughed at the warnings. He was the first to go missing. The other workers said he wandered off at night, flashlight in hand, after hearing someone calling for him from the trees. He never came back. They searched the swamp for 2 days, found nothing but his hard hat sunk in the mud near the cemetery gate. Then it was the trucks, engines that wouldn't turn over, tools lost or broken or covered in a fine white dust that looked too much like ground up bone. One man swore he found teeth scattered across the soil, as if the earth had spit them up. Another said he saw hands reaching between the roots, pale fingers curling out of the muck before slipping back underground. They kept cutting anyway. By the second week, half the crew refused to go near the site. The ones who did come back, pale, sweating, muttering about dreams that followed them into daylight, dreams of standing among open graves, their names already carved into the headstones. One of the locals, old Miss Jones, said the orchard was never just a burial ground. The Delacroix clan had practiced something older than prayer. She claimed they planted their dead like seeds, binding flesh to root, so the family would never leave the land. Their roots fed the trees, their bones fed the soil. Every whisper in the orchard was a hungry mouth, calling out for more. The loggers didn't believe her. They believed when the first body surfaced. It was early morning when the ground split open between the stumps. Something pale jutted from the dirt. At first, they thought it was another root, but when they pulled it free, it was an arm. Not rotted, not skeletal, fresh, fingers curled, nails caked with mud, as if the man had been buried alive just hours before. The body of Daniel Thorne. Except his mouth was full of soil, and his eyes were open, packed with tiny white roots, wriggling out like worms. The company fled after that, trucks tearing down the highway, contracts left unsigned, tools scattered in the mud. But the orchard didn't forget. The locals said the voices grew bolder, no longer whispers, but clear as someone speaking right behind you. Folks walking home at night swore they heard their dead kin calling out, begging to be let inside. A fisherman vanished when he followed his daughter's voice into the fog. A woman clawed her own throat open after claiming her husband was whispering from beneath her bed. The ground itself seemed to change. The soil cracked in places where pale shapes writhed beneath the surface. Roots weren't roots, but ribs, spines, entire skeletons knitted together in a lattice of bone and bark. The air smelled of wet earth and iron. The fog never left, not even at noon. The town tried to bless the land, but the priest who entered the orchard never returned. Only his collar was found, snagged on the fence. Now folks say the orchard has grown restless. Every year, the fog spreads a little farther, and the voices reach a little louder. Travelers passing through hear the names carried on the wind. Though no one speaks it aloud, hunters vanish, families lose their dogs to the swamp, and if you linger too long by the fence, you'll see the headstones shifting, carving themselves anew, with names that haven't yet died. They say the orchard is hungry, and one day soon, it's going to need more than whispers. And that brings us to the end of tonight's story. Thank you all for listening, and for sticking with me after this last month away. Your support means everything. Every comment, every share, every person who comes back to hear these stories keeps this channel alive. If you enjoyed The Bone Orchard, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me what your thoughts are, or if you've got a story you'd like to hear me bring to life. I've got more tales coming soon, and I won't be leaving you hanging this time. Until then, keep your lights low, your doors locked, and your ears open, because sometimes the voices calling your name aren't the ones you want to follow. Good night.